All right, here we go, back in gear. Step one of resiliency is motivation. That know that you're sacrificed for a noble, worthy purpose. You know, the Army and the Marine Corps at one time or another brought me out to speak to some of our wounded warrior battalions. When they take a whole battalion of troops that are going through the medical process and they busted up bad. And I tell them, your sacrifice is for a noble and worthy purpose. I told them about what happened in Bestland. I told them our enemy's evil. Our cause is just. Our sacrifice is for a noble and worthy purpose. And some just put their head in their arms and began to cry. No leader has ever stood up in front of them and said those simple affirming words, our enemy's evil. Our cause is just. Our sacrifice for a noble and worthy purpose. The next step in resiliency is motivation turned into action. Identify the things you can do and do them. It's a lifelong process. Try another step up that warrior path. The next step in resiliency is a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. Hey, you know, let's go back to this, coming further up that path. Let's go back to that real quickly. This is sometimes called an internal locus of control. An internal locus of control. You say, Dave, what in the heck does that mean? Best way I can put it is this. A cop told me one time. He said, I don't get PTSD, I give it. I'm a carrier. Now, as long as I understand that we're all human, as long as I understand that may come a time we all might need a hand, that's not a bad attitude to have. I control my destiny. I control my fate. I refuse to be a victim. Identify the things you can do and do them. Identify the things you can't control and let go of them. Quit pissing and moaning about things you can't control. They'll drive you mad. Turn it over to higher power. Identify the one thing in the universe you can control. And on a good day, who's the one person on this planet we can control? It's ourselves. Can we agree on that? Ain't nothing in the universe we can control except ourselves. If we give way to bitterness, if we give way to cynicism or complacency or denial, that's the one thing we can control. We're giving the world a victory on hand. We will not give them that victory, yes? So come further up that scale. Identify the things you can do and do them. Now the next step in resiliency is a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. The crazy thing about combat is people respond the way they think they're supposed to respond. And if you think combat's going to destroy you, you're already halfway home, yeah? Hollywood loves the pity party. The tormented, haunted veteran comes home from the war scarred for life. There are people like that, but they're rare. You must believe the vast majority of people made stronger by combat. Yeah? How many of y'all saw Saving Private Ryan? Saw what those World War II veterans lived with? Not for a 6-month rotation, not for a 1-year rotation. Year after year without end in sight. Those World War II veterans faced things we can't imagine. And they came home and they were the greatest generation. And the new greatest generation coming home, we don't mess them up. Nietzsche said what doesn't kill us only makes us what? And by the way, that's the name of a book I commend your attention. What doesn't kill us, the new science of post-traumatic growth. Everybody's heard about post-traumatic stress. Far more important is post-traumatic growth. The Bible talks about it over and over again. Romans chapter 5, 2,000 years before Nietzsche, said the same thing. We glory in tribulation. For tribulation work of patience. Patience experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed. Romans chapter 5, 2,000 years before Nietzsche, saying the same thing. The idea of being stronger from the bad things in life and not a new idea. The pity party. Waving the victim card, that's a new idea. And you don't want nothing to do with it. And there is so much garbage about our troops in the media. Like 22 veterans a day take their life. You heard that? Best we can tell that's accurate. You've got to extrapolate an awful lot of data. Best we can tell that's probably accurate. But how many of you knew the majority of that 22 are not from the current war? Anybody? Come on, was there one? Look at how 22 veterans myth. Of course there's other veterans. Of course there's other wars. They don't want you to think about that. Do you understand? That the message is it's all from the current war. And the war is evil, and all these evil things are happening. All these people are taking their lives. So just do a little research on that. Look at that, 22 veterans. Yeah. And folks, the reality is a little bit different. How about this one, though? An NPR piece based on a New York Times piece. Over 100 veterans of this war come home, commit murder. It's true. Over 100 veterans, driven mad by war, come home and commit murder. Stop. We've been at war for 16 years. We've had over 3 million Americans in the war zone. The murder rate for citizens 18 to 25 is 25 per 100,000 per year. Out of any million Americans of age group, there should be 250 murders a year. 3 million veterans in that general age group should have given us 750 murders last year alone. Extrapolate that data back over 16 years of war, statistically speaking, our veterans should have given us thousands and thousands of murders. All they proved was the murder rate for a returning veteran is less than a tenth of what it is for the general population. Are you with me on this? This is a vile and despicable smear of our veterans. This is an obscene misrepresentation of the data. Why would they do this? And they're dang well what they're doing. It's all politics. They're all driven mad by war, and war's evil, and they're all killers, and we can never trust them again. Well, again, you're allowed your own opinion. You're not allowed to malign and smear our veterans to score political points. By the way, folks, it's been true of every war. The returning veteran is far less likely to commit a violent crime than a non-veteran. Think about it, folks. Alexander the Great, the Roman Empire, us, World War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Every warrior society, every military to face the same challenge. Take your young warriors, give them state-of-the-art tools to kill people. Give them state-of-the-art training to kill people. Send them to distant lands. Give them years of practice killing people. Now bring them home. What's to stop them from using those skills on their own people? Any society that didn't crack that nut would be destroyed by their own returning warriors. And every warrior society found the same solution. Discipline, discipline, discipline. Every warrior society had distinctive uniforms. Every warrior society had distinctive haircuts. The Spartans were into dreadlocks, and they used it for padding for their helmets. The Romans were high and tight, probably best for hygiene. The Mongols had the forelock. The samurai had the top knot. The Brits were into the mustache, baby. The mustache was all about the stash, yeah? And then in the Civil War, Grant, Lincoln, we were the Taliban. It was all about the beard, baby, yeah? Then we went back to high and tight, probably best for hygiene. It don't matter what your hair looks like some flaky freaking fashion model. What matters is submission to authority. Whatever the hell the standard is, we enforce it. And you NCOs out there, you are the guardian of the safeguard. Whatever the standard is, we enforce it. And if you can't submit your will to authority by inconsequential things like how you dress and how you wear your hair, give up on expecting them to submit to authority about important things, like being trained to kill and never, ever using that skill except under authority. Do you understand? And so, folks, how about this one? And this is a biggie. What ratio of our veterans have PTSD? The senator from California says all veterans are insane, can never be trusted. Yes? What ratio of veterans have PTSD? Half? A third? A quarter? Lie, 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 lie. Used to be you had to dig for this data. Now it's right up front. The VA flat tells us about 16% of the veterans by Iraq and Afghanistan have PTSD. 11% of the ones who did not deploy have PTSD. Folks, about 5% contract PTSD. And folks, the two best U.S. studies, the VA, look it up. What ratio of veterans have PTSD? Those numbers come right up. The British study of their troops, about 5% contract PTSD. The Dutch study of their troops in Afghanistan, about 5%. Well, where'd all the crazy numbers come from? Well, there was a pretty good study of the first batch of troops coming back from Iraq. Now, Google this, word for word, you'll find it. It said 30 to 40% had some symptoms. of PTSD. Having some of the symptoms of PTSD is not PTSD, it's normal. Loud noises off, boom, hit the dirt. That's one of the symptoms of PTSD. It's also a survival mechanism that may take a while to go away, yeah? No, Google that. They reported it word for word, and then not 1 week later, they took one word out. Is that a lie? Take one word out. Is that a lie? 30-40% have symptoms of PTSD. Oh, I got symptoms of PTSD. But not 1 week later, took one word out. Is that a lie? Take one word out. 30-40% have PTSD. Somewhere along the line, they lost the 30. Google 40% PTSD. See how many times it comes up. And every time is a lie. And they don't count the times they almost have, over a third. Folks, I present at national, international psych conferences. A British psychiatrist sent me an email and said, Dave, the returning British troops are running 5% PTSD. The Americans running 40%. What's the difference? The difference is lying dirtbags in the media. Now, why are they doing this? And again, it's on purpose. It's all about the war. The war's evil, and the war turns people evil and must never go to war again. See, they're all crazy from war. When the truth is just the opposite. You're allowed your own opinion, you're not allowed your own facts. You understand? I keep running to veterans who think there's something wrong with them because there's nothing wrong with them. Yeah? The vast majority are stronger with the experience. So folks, no pity party. Go to that life and death event believing it will make you stronger. A new greatest generation is coming home. And no pity party. But the other goofy Hollywood myth is what I call the macho man. No pity party. No macho man. Or macho gal. Find them out there. It was an old Miami detective. Old Miami detective told me one time. He said, Colonel, you tell these kids, don't be the macho man. He said, I got my shooting, it was eating me alive. Now, most cops get into a shooting, it's no big deal. For some it is, and that's okay. We're there for them. He said, it was 2 years of hell after my police shooting. I was losing my wife, I was losing my kids, I was losing my job. Finally, just before the divorce, after 2 years of hell, my wife convinced me to get help. 2 months later, it was all over. I was trying to macho it out, but I should have gotten help. We have got to create an environment which is okay, get help. The man, your world's coming unglued, get help. And here's the heart of the matter, please, here's the soul. You must believe the help can help. The greatest lie out there, how they get away with it, I've seen it over and over again. PTSD cannot be treated. Folks, if a mental health professional tells you PTSD is for life, and you believe them, they have damned you to a lifetime of mental illness. I present at national and international psych conferences. I got every flavor of shrink out there. Ask them how many here personally know of cases where PTSD was treated and recovered fully? Half the hands are up. Everybody with their hands up is poking a finger in the eye of the liar who says PTSD is for life. Why, in the face of hundreds of thousands of cases we treated and recovered fully? Why, in the face of ever-advancing medical science? Why, in the face of the indomitable human spirit? Why would anyone say PTSD is for life? 2 reasons. Number 1, politics. Hundreds of thousands of shattered human beings. They never recover. The price of war is too high. Yeah, we get it. Number 2, job security. If I cure you in 2 months, I'm out of a job. If I hook you to a lifetime of therapy, then maybe with a lifetime of therapy, we can adapt. No. We're increasingly convinced if you want to get better, and we get the proper treatment, almost anybody recover fully, be stronger with the experience. We're not saying it's easy, but there is a path home, and we need to seek it. Folks, I trained a major SWAT team a while back. During the break, they said, hey, Colonel, the doc psyched this guy off the team. Now doc says he's okay. Can we trust him? Yes, you can trust him. He's stronger with the experience. He's got a piece of paper, says he's saying. You got one of those? How many else saw the movie, read the book, Lone Survivor? Marcus Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell has a podcast called Team Never Quit. I was on his podcast last fall and got his permission to talk about him. Across all these years, couldn't talk about him. Now I can. Now, I want you to understand something pretty important here. There's a major difference between post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress disorder. I want you to think about post-traumatic stress like being overweight. Post-traumatic stress disorder is obese. Do you understand? Think of it that way. It really is a good analogy. Post-traumatic stress is overweight. Post-traumatic stress disorder is obese. It's debilitating. And Marcus Luttrell's doc, I worked with this unit before and after the incident. Marcus Luttrell's doc told me he came back from that incident and he was 500 pounds PTSD. Totally debilitated. A year later, he was 50 pounds PTSD. He wanted to deploy again with his unit, and he did, and it was a good thing. I told him at the time, look how far you've come in just the last year. Have confidence you can come farther. But the day he tells us he is 100% post-traumatic stress-free and stronger for the experience. It wasn't easy. It took a couple of years. But if a person like that can come out the other end and be post-traumatic stress-free, anyone can. Those POWs who are tortured and malnourished, who are post-traumatic stress-free. Do you understand? So, no pity party, no macho man. Go to that life and death event, believe it'll make you stronger. But if there is a problem, get help and don't hesitate to get help and believe the help will help. Weave a path, a balanced path, a warrior path between these two obstacles. We're not saying this is easy. You didn't choose the easy road when you chose to go toward the danger and to do the noble and worthy service to protect our nation. A whole lot easier if you know that danger left and right. Please beware that pity party. Going to that life and death event, believe it will make you stronger. New greatest generation is coming home. No macho man, no macho gal. If there is a problem, deal with it and get help. And believe that help can help. We'll get better every day, yes? Well, folks, the next step in resiliency is one area where I believe we can make the greatest difference. In law enforcement and a lot of other environments. Now, if you're severely malnourished, obviously the malnutrition is putting stress on your body. If somebody attacks you while you're malnourished, those stressors can amplify each other. That's why the POWs and the Holocaust survivors do have it hard. The malnutrition combined with captors made it harder for those POWs and those Holocaust survivors, yes? If you're injured or ill, obviously the injury, the illness is putting stress on your body. Somebody attacks you while you're injured or ill, those stressors can amplify each other. That's why the elderly can be so vulnerable. The physical infirmity of the elderly body combined with the traumatic event can make it harder for them. I'm willing to bet nobody here is severely ill or injured. And probably nobody here is severely malnourished. Entirely too many of us are sleep deprived. Now, folks, I call PTSD the gift that keeps on giving. Kind of like herpes. Look, if you die, that's not contagious. You lose a limb, your kids can't catch that. You come home with a load of emotional baggage. Who has to live with it? Your loved ones. It can echo down across the generations. And if we're going to survive in this toxic realm, not bring home the gift that keeps on giving, sleep is one of the major factors in the equation. If you're sleep deprived and the bad stuff comes down, you're far more likely to bring home the gift that keeps on giving. Folks, in law enforcement, a Harvard study tells us the single predictor, the greatest predictor of ethical failures in law enforcement is sleep deprivation. The greatest predictor of use of force errors in law enforcement is sleep deprivation. Truck drivers require to log enough sleep, but cops aren't. That should enrage us. That should enrage us. So folks, tired people do stupid stuff. And remember this, remember this. After 18 hours without sleep, your impaired judgment equal to 0.08 legally drunk. After 24 hours without sleep, your impaired judgment equal to 0.10 above legally drunk. After 2 or 3 days without sleep, you are psychotic. Any graduate or ranger school will tell you about hallucinations after a couple of days without sleep. So folks, what we have is an epidemic of sleep deprivation in our civilization that has never been remotely this bad. And the effects are staggering. Now, I was the first one to report on this on a DOD-wide conference. It's been nailed down over and over again. One of the greatest predictors of suicide in our troops is sleep deprivation. Now, there is no real relationship between combat and suicide in the active duty military. A non-combat vet is as likely to take life as a combat vet. But a sleep-deprived person can be up to 5 times more likely to take their life. Now, we always knew alcohol was a factor in suicide. Alcohol creates impaired judgment. You make a bad decision, you never get a chance to rethink it, yes? But the most pervasive form of impaired judgment is sleep deprivation. And it's just epidemic through our society. Now, folks, our kids, the 3 major killers of our kids are suicides, drug overdoses, and traffic fatalities. And they're all up to levels in our darkest nightmares we never imagined. Decade after decade, the number of people killed in traffic fatalities came down, now they're back up again. Now, folks, here's what we know. Sleep deprivation, impaired judgment for sleep deprivation, is a key factor in traffic fatalities. We all know that. Sleep and traffic fatalities are a critical factor in suicides and in drug overdoses. Now here's parenting 101 for the 21st century. When you send your kid to bed at night, take their cell phone away from them. No cell phone in the room, no laptop in the room. They have got to go to their room and sleep. A cop told me, he said, I had a good girl. He said she was an A student. She said, Dad, it's embarrassing. You don't have to take my phone every night. You can trust me. And so I trusted her. A little while later, she took her life. And he said, I never knew the hell my little girl was living in till we looked at her cell phone and looked at the text messages. Night after night after night of ceaseless, relentless, vicious bullying. And she's up all night trying to respond and trying to protect herself. He said, my little girl was sleep deprived and bullied to death. And the one thing on earth I could have done for her was take her cell phone every night, let her turn off all the bad things in this world, and send her to bed for a good night's sleep. Folks, I'm telling you, our kids are dying. Suicides on our teens are at levels we never dreamed of. Traffic fatalities are up. Drug overdoses at horrendous levels. And the one that you can do for your teens right now is give them a good night's sleep, please. But folks, who's going to be your mommy? Who's going to make you get that good night's sleep? That cop told me, he said, I can't ignore that text message in the middle of the night. How do I expect my kid to? Do you understand? The sleep is a weak link in our chain, and there's an epidemic of sleep deprivation. So here's a critical component of sleep. Number 1, sleep is a biological blind spot. Our bodies are incompetent at making us get enough sleep because it's always happened naturally. Can we all agree, throughout history, every night, it got dark. and firewood was rare and precious commodities. You had so much talk and so much sex, you roll over, you went to sleep. Then Tommy Edison invented the light bulb, and the TV, and the video game. And suddenly we're able to go 24/7. And our bodies are incompetent at making us get enough sleep. Our bodies are good at getting air, food, water. You ever think about just how good your body is getting the right amount of food? How much extra food would a kid have to eat? Put on 1 pound a month. 1 pound a month. Put on 1 extra pound a month. By the time you're 10, you're 120 pounds overweight. Our body's pretty good in air, food, water. Got to watch that. But our bodies are absolutely incompetent at getting enough sleep. There is nothing macho about going without sleep. Any 9-year-old kid in a slumber party can do it. The macho thing is to manage your sleep. So sleep is a biological blind spot. You with me so far? The video games and to a certain degree the social media is a social blind spot. Look, if you staggered in the house drunk 3 o'clock every night, you know you have a problem. If you're up till 3 o'clock every night playing video games, and you stagger into work sleep deprived, you have a problem. Now, folks, when we play video games, we go into an alpha state. And to a certain degree, social media. We get into an alpha state. We're no longer able to keep track of time. Suddenly, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, got no idea where the last 6 hours went, and your spouse is sincerely ticked off. Recent research tells us video games are responsible for 15% of all divorces in America. Google video games divorce, come right up, 15%. And the younger age is actually quite a bit higher. Ain't that many 70-year-olds getting divorces over video games, yeah? And so, folks, listen. If somebody showed up in morning formation drunk, you'd kick his ass. If he shows up the morning formation sleep deprived because he played video games all night long, he needs his ass kicked. There is nothing cute, there's nothing funny about showing up at work drunk. And there's nothing cute, there's nothing funny about showing up at work sleep deprived because you played video games or social media all night. You got a sick baby at bed. At home, you stayed up with a sick baby. Man, we're going to cover you. We'll take care of you. You stayed up all night doing stupid stuff. And you showed up at work sleep deprived. And remember, sleep deprivation creates the equivalent of a drunk human being. Every ball team on the planet, it's lights out the night before the game. Your multi-million-dollar ball player stays up the night of the game, playing video games, watching TV. The coach will find them. The other players will kick his tail. This stuff's up now. In this game, you let down the team, people die. In this game, our team has a losing season. Our way of life could be destroyed. Do you understand? So sleep is a biological blind spot. And the video games and the social media can be a social blind spot. Again, you stagger in the house drunk 3 o'clock every night, you know damn well you got a problem. You're up till 3, 4 o'clock every night and go to work sleep deprived. You have a problem. And so folks, what I want to do is give you some solid nuggets on sleep. It's one thing to talk about sleep. Another thing, give you some solid nuggets you can apply. And sleep 101 begins with nap 101. Naps are a friend. Naps are good. But shoot for 30 minutes or more. Now, some of you heard of the 20-minute power nap. But most people take 10 minutes to wind down to a 20-minute nap. The research keeps coming back. I appreciate that. That's my splash sheet. That's so my markers won't splash on your floor there, these graffiti markers, yeah? So folks, a 10-minute nap, when you're driving down the road, you hit his bottom. Take one little micro naps. You know, we all been there. A little micro naps, yeah? You pull over, you put your head down for 10 minutes. The alarm goes off, it's kind of a startle response. But as far as sleep deprivation goes, that 10-minute nap was a total waste of time. Put your head down for 30 minutes. The alarm goes off, you're bleary and you're groggy and you don't want to get up. You know why? Because you're asleep. It takes 30 minutes for a solid sound, deep cycle thing, and I want to get back up again to sleep. And in general, anything less than 30 minutes is pretty much a waste of time. So folks across America, cops are putting up nap rooms. And it's not while they're on duty, it's the ones that are off duty. They got to testify in court in 2 hours. No way they could go home, get a good nap, and come back and testify. A quiet, dark room to crash for an hour and get a good quality nap, go testify, that's golden. So naps are our friend, but we truly have to shoot for about 30 minutes or more. That means the snooze alarm is not our friend. The snooze alarm is always set for about 10 or 15 minutes. Because a 10-minute snooze is just enough to get the shuttle response. We all been there. The snooze alarm is an evil little button that makes you relive the worst part of every day over and over. And I'm deadly serious. The snooze alarm is pure evil. Never touch it again. It's 10-minute chunks of your life you're throwing away. You get a 10-minute snooze, another 10-minute snooze, you just threw away 30 minutes of your life. You, anybody in the room with you, threw away 30 minutes of their life. I will teach you a trick that'll put 30 minutes of quality sleep back in every day. That adds up to 3.5 hours sleep back in every week. That adds up to 2 pure, beautiful nights sleep back in every month. That adds up to 24 nights sleep back in every year. Very simple. Set the alarm a half hour later and get the hell out of bed. And if it's that hard to get out of bed, what's your body trying to tell you? The body's screaming out you need more sleep. So folks, we throw away chunks of our life. I'm serious, that snooze alarm, do some research on it. The snooze alarm, your body tries to adapt to 10-minute naps and it can't do it. Your body and mind will tie itself in knots trying to adapt to 10-minute naps and it can't do it. So if you need to, put the alarm, we got to get out of bed to turn it off. And folks, we're going to talk a little bit later about having the will. Imagine you've been shot. And the only thing keeping you alive is that steely will. I'm telling you, the will to survive can overcome the body. But did you wake up every day and give in to your body? Did you wake up every day and hit that snooze alarm and surrender? Or did you wake up every day and show the triumph of your will over your body? Do you understand? Is the first act of every day one to give up and hit the snooze alarm? Is the first act of every day one of discipline? To roll out of bed and do what needs to be done? Yes? John, I'm serious. The snooze alarm is pure evil. Put the alarm where you got to get out of bed to turn it off if you have to. The snooze alarm is not our friend. Then dark is our friend. You may not have one more minute of sleep. You have quality sleep if you do it in the dark. Now, folks, I'm a huge science geek. My favorite website is sciencedaily.com. I check it every day through every category. And research in a sleep lab. You're in a truly dark room. The bathroom light is on and the door is shut. The light coming under the crack of the bathroom door is enough light to stop your body from producing the melatonin that you need. Throughout the history of our species, it was dark, dark, dark. The only light might have been moonlight through trees or huts or caves and the glimmer of a little fire. And we were designed to sleep in the dark. So folks, you all saw the movie Black Hawk Down. The helicopter unit Black Hawk Down, Task Force 160, Special Ops Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers. I've had the honor to train them on 4 occasions since 9/11, and they're fanatical about night operations. They teach everybody to create a truly dark room to sleep in. They teach you to put aluminum foil over the window to create a truly dark room. They don't do that, just keep the brain waves out. Yeah? But another trick out there is take it off across our arm forces like a grass fire. The old sleep masks. You all seen them, folks. We're handing them out by the fistful. It's one of the best things you'll ever have. I got a couple. I got one in my pocket when I travel. Got one here off the bedpost at home. It's not just for kinky marital applications. Now, most weeks I'll be in 4, 5, 6 cities a week. I'll stagger into the house, dark 30 Saturday night, curl up and go to bed. A couple hours later, it's daylight. Now, we got good curtains. But if you can tell it's daytime outside, that's way too much light. If you know it's daytime, that's way too much light. I'll roll out of bed, I'll take a leak, curl back up in bed, put my little sleep mask on, and get 2, 4, 6 hours of quality sleep. Recent research, extra sleep on the weekend can recharge the battery to hit the week refreshed. But you may not get one more minute of sleep. You will get quality sleep if you do it in the dark. One thing you can do right now to get that quality sleep, folks. That nap in the recliner in front of the TV was a chunk of time you threw away. Naps are serious business. Go to a quiet, dark room or white noise. A fan is white noise. A white noise generator is good. TV is not white noise. If you've got to have TV on to go to sleep, put it on a timer. It turns off after you go to sleep. You may not do one single thing I tell you today. If you do this one thing, it can have enormous difference to improve your quality of sleep without changing any other factor. Nicotine is not our friend. There's somebody on the perimeter, it's always somebody said, man, if I could have a dip, I could have a smoke, I could stay awake. Wrong. Caffeine. Caffeine, our friend, not our friend. What do you think? Caffeine is our friend. Caffeine is one of the most effective drugs we've ever found to temporarily limit your vulnerability of minimal side effects if you're not abusing the drug on a daily basis. You need a quadruple shot latte or 2 to get you going in the morning? A 64-ounce big gulp Mountain Dew or 2 to carry you through the morning? Another quadruple shot latte at lunch? And a 6-pack of Rock Bowl Star Monster energy drink after lunch? You're abusing the drug. You ever heard of bill of tolerance of drug? You ever heard of habituation of drug? You ever seen a little crackhead? He's mainlining the drug to stay normal. He's mainlining the drug just to stay normal. That's what's happening to a lot of people with caffeine. Now, folks, here's what the research tells us. Powerful recent research that's been nailed over and over again. Coffee is just about one of the best things we can put in our body. Tea's right behind it. Well, major study after study tells us coffee drinkers across the board are living several years longer than non-coffee drinkers. Now, a lot of y'all saying, I must be freaking immortal then. Yeah. But here's what we know. About 4 normal-sized cups of coffee a day are good for us. 2 cups of coffee at breakfast, 2 at lunch, then switch to decaf and have all you want. But after lunch, we've got to switch to decaf, where that stuff can do harm to us when it gets in the way of our sleep. And people say, caffeine, caffeine, caffeine doesn't bother my sleep. Caffeine doesn't make you not sleep. Caffeine makes it easier to stay awake, harder to have quality sleep. Now, you know, I'm taking our F-22 and F-35 squadrons, training all of our RPA squadrons, and the flight surgeon's always there, and we're cross-fertilizing info. And I stole this one of these guys. He teaches this across the Spec Ops community, and he's nailed it. This is what we call the sleep line. Now, when you fall asleep, you drop below the sleep line. There's some shallow sleep and some deep sleep. Now, this is a real simplistic model of leaving out several stages of sleep. We're beginning to realize incredible things happen in that deep cycle sleep. Major things happening, maybe most important of all. During deep cycle sleep, the body flushes all the garbage out. All those used up neurotransmitters are flushed out during deep cycle sleep. If you never get deep cycle sleep, what happened to all that garbage in the brain? One of the greatest areas of scientific study in our lifetime is Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's is one form of dementia. Why is there so much more of it? What can we do to prevent it? And study after study tells us lack of sleep and lack of quality sleep is a key factor in Alzheimer's and dementia. That deep cycle sleep is magic stuff. Another shot of shallow sleep, another shot of deep sleep, wake up and take a leak, back to bed. Another shot of deep sleep, wake up, go face the day. If there's caffeine in our body, the sleep line moves. That's what caffeine does. The sleep line moves. And you wake up and roll over here, here, and here. You're not getting the deep cycle sleep here and here. That's what caffeine is doing to us. Caffeine is a powerful, effective, useful drug. But manage your caffeine. Caffeine is the enemy of good sleep. Guard your sleep. Protect your sleep. Sleep is that little vacation that waits at the end of every day. And caffeine is the enemy of good sleep. I'm dead serious. Now, folks, the half-life of caffeine in our body is about 5 hours. That means the caffeine you had at 5 p.m. is still at half strength when you go to bed at 10 p.m. And it's making us have bad quality sleep. So please, a couple of cups of coffee or tea at breakfast, a couple at lunch at the most, and then switch to decaf. When you need it, it'll be there for you. Remember, I told you that 18 hours without sleep, your impaired judgment equal to 0.08? But caffeine can negate that for 2 nights. You can rock on, and caffeine can negate that fully for 1 night, partially the second night, then you crash. All the caffeine in the world ain't doing no good. If we hold caffeine in reserve, we can suck it up and drive on. You're changing shifts, you're rotating shifts, you're doing extended shifts. You've got extended combat operations. Caffeine will be there for us if we don't abuse it on a daily basis. And here's what we know, folks. Another study, 2 studies this year I know of, showing those sodas are carcinogens. Those sugary drinks are carcinogen. 1 soda a day is not going to kill you. If your only source of hydration is pounded down those sodas all day long, man, that's such sugary poison. And the diet sodas are chemical poison. Again, 1 or 2 diet sodas a day ain't going to kill you. If your only source of hydration is pounded down those diet sodas, then you're doing great harm. And folks, the energy drinks. In 16 years of war, we passed those energy drinks out like water, and now we realize the harm we've done. 2 major DOD studies this year on the energy drinks. All the energy drinks do is give us a mega dose of caffeine. We can get a 1-hour burst of performance, and then we crash. All the energy drinks on planet 8 doing us no good. Folks, in an academic environment, the one pounding down the most energy drinks are the ones with the worst grades. In a tactical environment, the one pounding down the most energy drinks are the ones most likely to nod off on the job. If it hasn't already happened, in the very near future, you will see a complete ban of energy drinks on deployment. We should have done the research before we start passing these things out for a decade. But why would we put that sodas and the energy drink in our body when coffee and tea and juice can be so good for us? Yeah? So you taper off slowly. Get yourself down where you're using caffeine efficiently. And folks, don't hesitate to go to the sleep lab. We will spend 1/3 of our life asleep. Let it be quality sleep. I was training the SEALs a while back, and a SEAL Master Chief, a SEAL E9, comes up. He said, I had 9 years of bad sleep. Everybody in the team complained about my snoring. Finally, I was ordered to go to the sleep lab. One night in the sleep lab, they said, Master Chief, you got sleep apnea, you got it bad. Where's this CPAP machine? He said, that first night of good sleep. after 9 years of bad sleep, that first night of good sleep, he said, no meal I've ever eaten, no sex I've ever had, nothing in my life has ever been as good as that first night of good sleep after 9 years of bad sleep. Now, a guy like that, I figure it's got credibility. Folks, sleep is a biological blind spot. Our bodies are not going to make us do it. We got to make it happen. Sleep-deprived people are taking years off their life, and they're having bad quality life. We're not the parents we want to be. We're not the spouse we want to be. We're not the airman we want to be. Do you understand? Sleep-deprived people will say things and do things they will regret for the rest of their life. We need four-chord players. We need seasoned players. We need people to maintain themselves all the way across the board. Yes. Well, we started kind of touchy-feely with the internal locus of control and motivation, and then we moved to some pretty hard stuff with that sleep thing, and now we'll get into some pretty hard science. This is the kind of stuff I love. And those of you that have a copy of On Combat, going to get one book today. It's what I want you to have. Those who have On Combat, please turn to page 31 and follow along. Turn to page 31 on Combat and follow along. This is pretty famous. This is our heart rate slide. And again, turn to page 31, and down at the bottom of the page, underline, highlight, hormonal or fear-induced heart rate increase. This is the impact of hormonal and fear-induced heart rate increase. Now, this heart rate slide is something Bruce Siddle and I put together a long time ago, 20 years now. It's been reprinted in many articles and encyclopedias and textbooks. But what I want to do is come back to our illustration again. Now, look at these two individuals. Now, their heart rate could be exactly the same. The impact on the body is exactly the opposite. She is experiencing vasodilation. We've all been there. Vigorous physical exertion, your body's screaming for oxygen, the blood vessels are wide open, and you get that red face. If we have a darker complexion, it's not quite so obvious, but it's happening to everybody. He is experiencing vasoconstriction. His heart rate could be exactly the same. The impact on his body is exactly the opposite. Again, if you have a light complexion, we can watch it happening to everybody. Folks, he's taken a blow to that left cheekbone. On the other side of the head, there's a pretty bad cut, and he's been burned. He's on his second trip down for the World Trade Center. I have studied images of human faces for a lifetime, and I have never seen such an example of vasoconstriction and vasodilation side by side. Their heart rate could be exactly the same. The impact on their body is exactly the opposite. I tell my cops, don't worry about the guy that's red with rage. You watch out for the one that's white with rage. Oh, whoa, what's happening? Well, what's happening is what we call vasoconstriction. And again, page 31 on Combat, underline, highlight that word, vasoconstriction. The docs tell us it's happening at the pre-capillary stage. Just before the capillaries, there's mechanical shutdown of the blood flow. The body core and the arteries can be holding up to twice as much blood. The outer layer of the body doesn't have any blood in it, or greatly reduced. What happened to your blood pressure? Skyrockets. Just about any time you see stress-induced increase in blood pressure, it's vasoconstriction doing it. Wow. What's that do for you? The outer layer of the body becomes a layer of armor. Think about it. You can take enormous trauma on the perimeter. As long as you don't hit the artery, the body core, you won't bleed out. Does that sound like a survival mechanism? Let's say you're fighting a wolf. Now, if the wolf wins, your family's dog food. You're not fighting for your life. You're fighting for the survival of your family, the survival of your tribe. And you're trying to cave the wolf's head in with a rock. His jaws can shred your arm and not get to that artery. His claws can shred your chest and not get to the body core. You got a sustained vicious battle. He shreds your arm, he shreds your chest. You don't bleed out in the heat of battle. Finally, you cave his head in. You're triumphant. You won the battle. You saved your family. Then you relax. Then you bleed out and die. The body will always backlash in the opposite direction. The wound that didn't bleed in the heat of battle will gush blood afterwards, yes? So, what's the price we pay for this wonderful survival mechanism? The muscles ain't getting blood. Muscles don't get blood, they stop working. So initially begin to lose your fine motor control. You do not have a lie detector, but you have a stress detector when you shake somebody's hand. Their hand is called clamia, early stage of vasoconstriction. The handwriting will probably be a little sloppy. It gets worse and worse, you lose complex motor control. It gets worse and worse, in a catastrophic realm we're going to call condition black. Our enemy is condition white, for sheep. Condition white is a state of denial. You dance through the life in denial, the bad stuff comes down. You bought a deluxe first class, one-way ticket to condition black. Did not pass $200, no, did not pass go, did not collect $200, go straight to Panicsville. Every grass eater has 2 speeds. What are the 2 speeds every grass eater has? Graze and stampede. Denial and panic. And it's denial that traps us in condition white. So we try to live our lives in condition yellow. And anything goes on, you're not stunned, you're not surprised. You pop up condition red, you rock and roll, come back down again. Now look what we accomplish in condition red. Look what we accomplish in condition red. Optimal survival and combat performance level. Complex motor skills, visual reaction time, cognitive time, all the highest. Are those good things? What's the price you pay for those things? Some loss of fine motor control. We partially compensate for that with training. Let me give you a sports example. Basketball player is out on the court. Basketball player is rocking and rolling, condition red, because he's done 100,000 shots in practice. Basketball player is shot left hand, right hand, moving in, moving out, moving left, moving right, in the game, moving makes that shot. Because he's done 10,000 shots just like in practice. But give him 5 seconds to make a free throw. His approach is completely different. Study basketball players making free throws. Study them. You see a lot of this. He's like a sniper. The basketball player is using the time available, pulls himself down to condition yellow, makes his free throw, pop-up condition red, rocks and rolls. The who on the battlefield must live in condition yellow. Must never lose fine motor control. Bomb techs. I train EOD worldwide. My bomb tech loses fine motor control while he's defusing a bomb. He's having a bad day. Yeah. Snipers, yeah. And docs. I train pararescue squadrons. I train spec ops medics and emergency room docs. My doc loses fine motor control while my life is slipping through his hands. I'm having a bad day, yeah. Cops on high-speed pursuits. We say you got a high-speed pursuit. When you decide whether or not to let them make the trip, listen to the voice coming over the radio. A fighter pilot, a test pilot comes over the radio, a high-speed pursuit, you're good to go. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, 5-year-old girl comes over the radio. They must be pulled off the pursuit. Yeah? If you can't control your voice, you can't control your hands. And pilots. Folks, how's the pilot's voice always sound come over the radio? Calm, bored, monotone. The worse it gets, the calmer they get. Yeah? Houston, we have a problem. How about this one, huh? We're going in the Hudson. Yeah? We found out the hard way in 10,000 dogfights and 50,000 aviation emergency coming over the radio. If you can't control your voice, you can't control your hands. If you're a pilot in emergency, you're probably going to die. If you can't control your voice, you can't control your hands. If you're a pilot in emergency, you're probably going to die. Yes? So we live our lives in condition yellow. One other group of individuals, leaders. Can we all agree that our military leaders got to remain calm in the heat of battle? When things are going to hell and people are dying, our leaders have got to remain calm, yes? That's why warriors do not respect leaders who blow their cool. Now, we're all human. We all lose it sometimes. But when it happens, we've made a mistake. Try to do a better job the next time. Most of us, as we get older, we get a little better at that. That's why most of us make better grandparents than we did parents, yeah? How many of y'all got kids? How many of y'all ever looked at your parents with your kids and said, are you the same ones that raised me? No, they're not. They're at least 20 years older, more mature. It's called maturity. We want to get it as fast as we can. Oh, I got 1,000 kids. Get their attention. No, we are what we practice to do. If we practice having temper tantrums, when things go to hell, that's what we're going to do. But the day-to-day pissant things make us blow our cool. When things are going to hell and people are dying, very difficult to maintain that calm. The next step in resiliency is to nurture an environment of quiet professionals. The laconic Spartan, the stoic Roman, the inscrutable samurai, the stiff upper lip Brits, and the quiet professional are all different ways of saying the same things. We're all human, but nobody respects our temper tantrum. They respect our calm. The next step in resilience is to nurture that environment of quiet professionals. And to live our lives in condition yellow. Yeah? When the bad stuff comes down, we're not stunned, we're not surprised, we're ready. And we pop up a condition red, rock and roll. See, the point man on the entry team, goes in the door in condition yellow, calm, competent professional. Bad guy pops up out of nowhere and shoots at him. He's a basketball player making a snapshot. He pops up red, rocks and rolls, comes back down again. Yes? So being at the appropriate level for the appropriate mission is critical. We'll talk a lot more about breathing and staying in that zone. But folks, let's study what happens in this catastrophic realm condition lack. And first and foremost, cognitive processing deteriorates. That's a fancy way of saying you stop thinking. I'm going to put a model up here. We're going to come back to this model over and over again. When we talk about PTSD, we'll come back to this model. We do our final exam, we'll come back to this model. So tune in. First, we got part of the body we're going to call the forebrain. Inside the forebrain goes everything that makes us human. What are the things that happen in your head that will never happen in your dog's head? Let's call it rational thought. Rational thought. Lying underneath the forebrain part, I'm going to call the midbrain, or the mammalian brain. Just get you oriented. Here's your little beady bloodshot eye looking out this way. Inside the midbrain goes everything every living creature has in common. What do you, your dog, the bacteria in your body have in common? Give me, there's a joke. A classical joke in this 1950 psychophysiology textbook. I recently saw it in a modern textbook. That function in the midbrain can be thought of as the 4 F's. The 4 F's are fight, flee, food, and reproduction. Every living creature does these 4 things. You, your dog, the bacteria in your body are capable of these 4 things. And folks, the interaction between the 4 is fascinating. You know, I've been on the road for 20 years. People know me, they trust me, they saw me as a rookie, and 20 years later, I'm still here gathering info and building it, and they trust me. And my fire guys tell me that there is a powerful drive to reproduction in the face of death. And it scares people. My fire guys tell me a brutal, desperate 4-alarm fire, finally get home and it's all over, and my paramedic, I just trained a whole bunch of EMS guys in Maine last Friday, and my paramedics tell me 4-car pilot scrambling, saving lives 100 miles an hour, finally get home and it's all over, and cops said knock down, drag out, fight, cuff them and stuff them. Finally get home at the end of the shift, and cops say gunfight, bad guys down, I'm alive. Finally get home and it's all over, and they all say the best sex I've had in months. Both partners are very invested in some very intense sex. There's nothing wrong if it doesn't happen. There's nothing wrong if it does happen. Is it the affirmation of life in the face of death? Is there a hormonal surge? I don't know. There's not a whole lot of perks that come with this lifestyle. You find one, relax, and enjoy it. Off duty, wait. It'll still be there, I promise. But what if we're deployed and there's not an appropriate sexual partner? Biology is not destined, do you understand? Biology is not destined. If we know this kind of thing might happen, we won't be blindsided by it. Do you understand? Biology is not destiny, and our goal is to overcome that dynamic. But here's the final point now before the next break. We tie it all together, this critical point. When we become angry, when we become frightened, the forebrain shuts down. And the midbrain, the part of the brain, same as your dog, reaches up and hijacks the forebrain. And that neural pathway can become the foundation that might become post-traumatic stress disorder. We'll talk more about that body response under extreme stress. And there's no rational thought in that person's head. As you watch the blood drain from the face, you know the blood drains from the forebrain, and there's no rational thought in that person's head. Have you ever tried to have an argument or discussion with a truly angry, frightened person? You can't do it. The more angry, the more frightened, the less rational they become. You know why you can't have an intelligent conversation with an angry, frightened person? Because there's nobody home. You're trying to argue with their dog through the mail slot. Ain't nobody home with the dog. Give it up. With the human being, we got to calm them down first. Now, the breathing exercise is a powerful tool I'm going to give you. And for decade after decade, we taught the breathing. We said, breathe in through the nose. Why? Well, that's what works. Well, this year, there was a powerful study that says a deep breath in through the nose can almost completely extinguish the fear response. It's got to be in through the nose. A deep breath into the nose can almost completely extinguish the fear response. Now, what's going on here is this. We got what we call the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. In between is maybe we'll call homeostasis. Now, that your unit is on stand down. Your unit is in maintenance mode, right? And then you wake up and your sympathetic nervous system becomes ascendant. You still have some mechanics going on and maintenance going on, but you're in functional mode in the front lines of the unit, and then you're back on stand down. You go to sleep, parasympathetic becomes ascendant. You wake up in the morning and somebody tries to kill you. You get total sympathetic nervous system arousal. The cooks, the clerks, the bakers, the mechanics, they drop their wrench, they drop their spoon, they get in the front line with a rifle. And the further you go up this way, the further you go down this way. Understand? Now, eating is a powerful tool to calm people down. When the body starts eating, a powerful message is sent. We're safe, and parasympathetic process can be kicked into gear. Last January, they brought me out to Alaska to train the Air Force Pararescue Squadron up there. My host there was PJ, multiple combat tours, and his wife was an emergency room psychiatrist. And she told him when they have a crackhead or a meth head tearing up the emergency room, what they do is this. They grab a bag of M&Ms, they rip it open, shove it in his face. Would you like some M&Ms? He said, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. This is the kind of guy who always carries a gun off base, and you need him to. A veteran of combat and high-level special ops. And he said 2 different times, I thought I was going to have to draw my gun and fight for our life. And both times, my wife reached in the purse, pulled out a bag of M&Ms, ripped it open, shoved the guy's face. Would you like some M&Ms? Both times it completely diffused the situation. He said, nah, I'm not sure it would have worked for me. It's good to have plan B. Yeah. But the power of biological dynamics to calm the body down, to put the body in a different gear. And when we're eating, it's very difficult to manifest aggression. So the last one I want to give you then, the last point on that, is take it off like a grass fire across the therapeutic world. Is you put that bottle of water in front of you. Now, in a nutshell, PTSD is when you cannot separate the memory from the emotions. Every time you remember it, you relive it. When we want to remember it, we don't want to relive it. So the path to healing is to separate the memory from the emotions. And so, folks, I always had people stop and breathe, starting in 1988 with World War II vets and Vietnam vets. And they talked about what became my book, the examples and case studies. And they became emotional and knew something counterproductive was happening. So I'd make them stop and breathe. Today, we put that bottle of water in front of them. A friend of mine is one of our nation's leading therapists for law enforcement. Think about it. Does the doc who treats your gunshot wound have been shot? You ever been shot? You can't treat my gunshot wound. So we all agree that's insane. The shrink who helps you, whatever happened, does not have to be where you are to help. Yeah? You never been I am. You can't help me. That's a cop-out. That's a pity party. This lady is truly one of the greats in the field. And she said, 14 years of practice, 6 years of college, and that stupid bottle of water is doing more good than anything I've ever done. We put that bottle of water in front of them, and every time they begin to lose it, make them stop and take a big swig of water. Now, folks, it's sending food hits the stomach, and and the parasympathetic message is sent, but also it's a natural way to get people to breathe. Study what you do. Take a big swig of water. You breathe in, you hold your breath, you let it out. A cop sends me an email. He said, Dave, I'm in a high-speed pursuit. I key the mic and I hear Mickey Mouse come over the radio. I knew I had a problem. Bottle of water right there. Big swig of water, key the mic, fighter pilot comes over the radio from that point on. This is good stuff. And one last application then. Let's say you're getting a witness statement from a victim of a crime. If that individual becomes emotional while they talk about it, they're moving down the path of mental illness. From the very beginning, they're associating the memory with emotions. And B, you don't need all that drama, right? But put that bottle of water in front of them, just the power of a gift, a bottle of water. And every time they begin to lose it, they can stop and take a big swig of water. A, you're getting that calm, rational state that they need. B, you're sending them down the path of mental wellness. It teaches them from the beginning to separate the memory from the emotions. Well, folks, that whole process of separating the memory from the emotions is the final hour. We're going to tie this all together in the final hour or so. Once again, we've been on our tail for an hour. Remember, a lot of people say the first hour after lunch is the hardest. You ever heard that? Research says that's not true. Research says the second hour after lunch is the hardest. The sugar buzz is waning, the caffeine buzz is waning. Once again, never keep people on the tail for much more than an hour after lunch. Most important break of the day, 10 minutes. Urine levels down, caffeine levels up. Come back ready to rock and roll.